physiological aspect. I mean, when we hear a 100-piece orchestra, the coordination cannot match the synchronization of a tone emitted by a single source.
What? I don't understand what you just said.
So in other words,
don't understand.
our ear, the orchestra that we hear.
Oh, you don't hear those harmonics. You don't hear those individual harmonics.
Can you let me finish, please?
Oh.
The orchestra that we hear, consisting of 100 instruments, we hear a single sound wave. The singer singing a bitone, we also hear a single sound wave. But because our ear resolves, you know, the minute aspects of the sound, that sound emitted by the single source is more, it's more identified as as a single thing than the sound by the orchestra, because our ear picks up on the minute discrepancies that are not synchronized.
That is so unscientific. No way. No way. I just won't accept that at all. Because what you hear, no way. When you hear the singer, I mean, you might only hear the bitone. When you hear a singer singing a bitone, you might only hear that. You might hear the way that they breathe. You might hear the sound reflecting off the wall. You might hear the variation in vibrato. You might hear, and when you hear that
wave. If it would be like that, I can go and kill myself.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear that, when you hear the orchestra,
I think you did not understand what he said.
No, probably not.
I can say.
If he said what I understand, I'm going to
tell you about an experience I did, which confirms completely what you say. I was in the beginning of EarCom. I wanted to construct towers or spectrum. I didn't know exactly what I was saying, what I'm doing. So I just put together sine waves, nothing original. Put together sine waves, and they started at the same moment. And I heard a complex tone, and I was very happy. But I thought the beginning of this tone, the attack, was not interesting. So I wanted to make more interesting, and I put in one component after another by a millisecond. And I heard the result, and I thought I did an error, because I didn't hear anything, had anything to do with what I just heard before. I heard a chord. I didn't hear any more a spectrum, I heard a chord. And I spent days to find out where my computer programming error was, until I found out it was not computer error, it was my ear, which doesn't hear the same thing if it's simultaneous or if it's off of a millisecond.
Yes, a millisecond.
A millisecond. So once I understood this, I started to learn in the middle of the sound to switch by my hearing between timbre and spectrum and chord. And I finally learned how to switch. And that's, what happens, that we learn when we listen to orchestra. Because many people, when they listen to orchestra, they really hear one wave, as you say. Yes. But then we learn how to, using the time, using the differences between...
To resolve it, to divide it up into the parts. Yes. But we're hearing a single wave. The vibrations of the air molecules are a single wave that hits our ear.
And when the sample of the singer is because it starts together in a certain way that our ear integrates.
I think that's not true.
Simplifying hearing in a way. I can't believe.
What do you think?
I think.
It scares me to death.
I would love to have you as a professor.
Let's hear it.
I mean, this is basic.
Well, I just want. Excuse me, Robert. I just want to say that the singer doesn't start at the same time.
But please pay attention in the same way.
Yeah, the different
because
systems are involved
that
don't start at the same time, even though it's one singer.
Right, the overtones come out later. Is that what you're saying?
So,
because every system, you know, there are different vibrating components and resonating components, and there's a start-up time. Just the same way as there is when you play a saxophone.
That doesn't affect the argument.
It affects his argument.
Great artist.
Because his argument was the distinction between a sound that starts exactly at the same time and a sound that starts with the components starting at slightly different sounds. Yes, that's what he said.
Robert, can you just explain this to me again? Because I don't think I'm understanding. Wait, I'm sure that I don't understand what you mean.
It's shocking to me that
No, that isn't what bugs me. I mean, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's just so.
La structure
But
abstraite et la
what I don't
réalité du son, il y a
understand is,
rien.
Parmi les pupitres comme ça, parce que
Okay.
ça c'est aussi un vrai
what I
art
don't understand is,
d'avoir chaque pupitre, d'avoir...
you always hear one.
Oui, ça veut dire de diriger comme ça. Pas vers vous êtes le premier violon.
You always hear one sound. See, I don't.
Pour lui,
But
parce que lui, de toute façon, il s'arrête. C'est pour lui qu'il faut diriger. Parce que si on dirige le premier violon, l'autre il va faire.
Vous avez joué dans
Right.
l'orchestre
And so we have an extraordinarily sophisticated way of analyzing sound.
Excusez-moi, est-ce qu'on peut pas unifier là? Ama,
C'est des décalages immenses.
Ama,
Yes.
est-ce qu'on peut pas continuer la
no,
conférence?
wait,
Yes.
I'm just trying to get your point. Exactly.
Could he
It's
say
very
once more what he
I'm
said
sure
before
I
you
must
know
be
that he
missing
said
this
this?
Yeah, but we just need to have...
On est l'écrevisse, la grenouille et le poisson.
The whole
Chacun
idea
de
of
son
different
côté.
instruments, and we start hearing the differences within the sound. Within one singer, we identify with one, and we start hearing it as one. Complete. That's what he's trying to say to you.
Which is completely.
Wait,
I don't.
wait. Can I just think? Because I want to know why the hell this is bothering me. I mean, because this is just, like he said, this is science 101. So why the hell should this bother me? I mean, I don't understand. Okay, so I'm listening to one singer or I'm listening to an orchestra. What is different?
I mean, I'm really just talking about how our ear parses sound. So for example, in a flock of 10,000 penguins, the baby penguin can identify its mother's sound
Right,
in that mass of sound.
right.
And our ear does a similar kind of work. And it works in different ways. For example, the attack is extremely important.
Absolutely.
We listen to
everything.
timbre.
It's what Renan
Not
said.
that
It's so
because-
important that it informs everything.
And our ear, we focus on timbre in that initial approximately like
But
70
we
milliseconds.
speak about timbre in such a vague way and such an unprofessional
Excuse
way.
me, can I finish please? Our ear thinks about timbre for maybe the first 70 milliseconds or even less, and then it quickly moves to other things. And the reason for that is a survival thing. We need timbre to know whether we're going to be killed or not.
Oh, now I
And
know
then
why I'm bugged.
once we get that timbre, then we start thinking about pitch, rhythm, dancing, or whatever. But that initial, and that's why timbre is omitted from the European literature,
Yeah.
because we don't think about it. We think about it for that initial attack and then move to something else.
That's it. Thank God.
I never understand what you mean.
Now,
And do you think that it's because we are too, our survival is not in danger? We are living in a safe culture?
Once we realize that we're
It's-
not going to be killed by that, then we can think about other things.
Man.
Can you,
You
sorry,
think
Robert,
it's a-
just to pinpoint you, just so I think I can understand. So you're saying that the timbre is giving the identity of the sound.
yes.
So we identify what the source of that sound is and whether, for example, it's dangerous or
Yes.
whatever, or what it's, so this means we're talking in some way about meaning, you could say. So the timbre is giving information about the meaning of the sound.
Yes.
Would that be a reasonable
That's
way of putting it?
You don't depend on sound to survive, because that ain't the way you hear it. I don't care what science says. I mean, because the timbre, and here's why. Because you don't hear these things as distinct entities, one from the other. You don't go, you don't sit and dig the sound and go, oh, that's the timbre part of it, oh, that's the pitch part of it.
Yes.
Oh,
It's also-
that's the,
It's
that's
also
the
what I want to
wonderful
say, that
part of
in
it.
fact,
that-
how you identify it's a complex, it's
And
an entire being, you don't identify only the
there may be, there may be an order that you,
timbre is
there
not
may be
independent.
an order in which you receive the information. However, the information doesn't come to you in that order. It gets way assembled before you ever perceive it. When you start to perceive it and you start to
Andy,
organize that thing, it's way more complicated than your.
aren't you a drinker?
Not much.
Your example with the sine waves. Did you experiment with with sliding those sine waves? Did you experiment with moving the speakers around the room? Did you experiment with having the sine waves go in and out with random envelopes?
Nothing of those.
Yeah, well, you should have, because then you would have found out some more shit. Because what you're saying only works part way, man. Because I've done all those experiments. That's what I do
You know
all
about
day.
the Chowning theory, about
Yes,
things going together?
yes, I do know about that, in fact.
That's
Well, that's the other important component is we identify streams by the horizontal aspect of it, and
Well, first of all, we shouldn't be thinking in XY coordinates when we're talking about sound. That's something you people like to do, but it's wrong. That's a nice way. That's the way oscilloscopes work. That's the way derivatives work. I know about calculus, you know. This is all nice. But that's not the way you perceive sound. That's the way you look at it. That's the way you understand the graph. But that's not the way you hear it.
well, here
So what's the way you hear it?
It depends. It depends. I mean, it depends on so many things. It gets so I mean, look. If this was simple, why the hell would we all have to practice every day? Why wouldn't we just figure out the way to do it and do it that way?
That's what Gieseking said.
Yeah.
Figure
And-
out that your fourth finger is a little bit weak, so play it stronger.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, if all this is
It's
so,
difficult to say.
if it's so
It
fixed,
is.
then what do we have to?
Energy,
Why do
mental energy is very
work?
strong.
Why have I been playing thirds, stupid ass thirds for the past 30 years? I ain't that dumb. I mean, I would have got it the first time if it was anything real simple. And y'all know this to be the case.
But I'm not sure that was any too much to do with what Robert was saying. Where were you leading to?
Well,
maybe I'm not sure if I can describe it, but so sound is air pressure, air molecules moving, hitting our skin, and then especially most intensely interpreted through the ear, but it's also hitting our whole body. And so, because our ear like interprets and parses sound into streams, and like envelopes are extremely important, and periodicity is extremely important, whether it's a harmonic relationship or a non-harmonic relationship. That's how we decide whether we're hearing one instrument or two instruments. When we hear that these are things touching us at a speed, at many constantly changing speeds, and if it's more or less coordinated, it can be physically felt as more or less one as opposed to more or less 100.
true.
And that's why I think the harmonic sound can physically, through physics, the physics of sound, physically and physiologically illustrate the idea of,
One and multiple.
yes.
Okay. Now
It does,
yes.
it
So
does
it's a
serves
map.
us.
It's a good map. Well,
Yes.
Sure.
I think it's
I guess
important to
And
ask.
so what?
yeah, I
And
don't
so
much care,
what?
but yeah, sure,
Let-
okay.
Another question, yes. Est-ce qu'on peut écrire, est-ce qu'on peut arriver à écrire finalement quelque chose sur une feuille de papier comme ça? Quand on compose une musique de type spectral, est-ce qu'on peut arriver, vous croyez qu'on peut arriver à un résultat? On peut noter quelque chose?
Sur papier, donc
Oui.
pas dans l'ordinateur, pas comme son électronique, pas comme
Oui.
agissement direct sur la matière du son.
Oui,
pas comme,
moi je pense
comme-
que oui.
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 Oui, mais
Quoi-
en
quoi-
quelle mesure on trahit et en quelle mesure on note?
Ça, c'est une
You
question
guys
que
almost
j'aurais
showed
toujours
me-
voulu poser à Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Oui.
Parce
Ah,
que
mais
ce
pour lui, la vie
gars-là,
est plus simple.
parce que ce gars-là, il instrumente d'une façon tellement extraordinaire pour utiliser le timbre de chaque instrument, pour modifier la couleur de l'harmonie, que je pense que si on voulait y arriver, moi personnellement, je sais simplement que mes connaissances, mon métier n'est pas encore suffisant. Le jour où j'arriverai aussi bien
Pour une musique aussi.
que j'arrive aussi bien que Mozart à entendre la combinaison des timbres, je pense que je pourrais y arriver
Mais c'est
à mettre sur le papier.
Sachant qu'il
Si
faisait
vous
ça
me
avec ce qu'il avait
permettez.
sous la main en plus.
Si vous me
Donc
permettez,
il n'avait pas en plus il n'avait pas une idéologie.
Non.
Il arrivait à faire ce
Non,
genre
il a
de
une bonne
choses.
oreille.
Oui, mais avec ce qu'il avait, il arrivait à combiner pour
Bon, c'est
obtenir.
difficile de dire s'il avait une idéologie ou
Oui,
pas.
comment qu'est-ce que
Non,
tu veux dire
ça,
Ah ben, dans son on parle de l'instrumentation chez Mozart, elle était faite avec ce qu'il avait sous la main.
Ah oui, oui.
Et donc il était capable,
Oui.
si on prend la grande partita, il était capable d'obtenir effectivement au point de vue orchestration, quelque chose de
Ouais.
faramineux dans l'andante par exemple,
il est extrêmement
avec quelques instruments
précisément
qu'il avait sous la main. C'est-
allonge à tous les buts.
Alors on parlait de la clarinette tout à l'heure, etc. Bon, je suis bien placé pour parler du corps et tout le
Voilà.
travail sur les sons bouchés, qui ont un timbre que Beethoven utilisera dans la symphonie héroïque, par exemple. Les notes dramatiques qui sont écrites sforzato maintenant, que tout le monde joue forte, elles étaient bouchées. Donc on les faisait sforzato bouchées, mais du coup elles étaient beaucoup plus faibles au point de vue intensité, mais
beaucoup plus
dramatiques au
fortes.
point de vue son.
oui. Mais est-ce que,
L'expression.
est-ce que
Wait,
vous
wait,
pouvez...
wait, 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 before you get started, Tim, can you just explain this argument about Mozart here, please?
Well,
What was this?
Rayner said that Mozart was a genius at, I think what we call orchestration in English, or instrumentation, and that he got extremely interesting color variations into his harmony by altering the instrumentation. And Denis said, and the extraordinary thing was that he was always having to work with the available instruments. He couldn't, that there wasn't a kind of standard available universal orchestra format or anything like that. People were always juggling around with what there was, and he still managed to do it. And then he spoke about the things that they got out of the sounds that they specified for the French horn, and how they were sounds which these days are played always fortissimo, the sforzando sounds, were actually at that period intended to be played with the instrument blocked. Is that with the hand? Stop it, avec la main.
Yes,
Yeah.
with a hand
Which
inside of them,
which gives a much quieter sound,
but much more dramatic.
but much more dramatic.
And the special color is not,
Special colour. So I
which
think,
were things he.
yeah, and all this is in
Discovered.
the context of the question, Yanku's question: is it possible to write on a piece of paper spectral music?
Why not?
Mais qu'est-ce qu'a fait
Oh, it's
Café
complicated.
Ligeti.
It's not why not.
Qu'a fait Ligeti dans une de ses dernières œuvres, qui est le Hamburger Concerto, pour corps. Il utilise 4 corps simples dans l'orchestre et un corps simple, les corps chromatiques pour le soliste. Il y a 4 corps simples dans 4 tonalités
Simple.
différentes. Simple.
Euh,
Donc
Naturel.
uniquement sur les
Naturel.
harmoniques, mais chacun dans une tonalité différente. Là, il y a une écriture sur papier de quelque chose qui va être totalement spectral, puisqu'il y a une confusion d'harmoniques absolument extraordinaire. Et c'est un coup de génie. Et je repense, Mozart aurait peut-être, s'il avait osé, peut-être qu'il aurait utilisé des corps simples dans 2 tonalités différentes.
T'as
Mais-
pas une autre
Why do you want to make
Puis,
this
à
complicated?
Je sais
propos de
pas.
Mozart, comme vous
Ils
avez
veulent pas
dit,
marcher quand ils sont.
vous
Why
êtes
can't you
toujours
just say once you
formidable.
start listening to this shit, you start to use it?
On dit ici en Roumanie qu'il y a, dans les périodes très fastes de la culture, quand le médium, presque le médium entier, comment dire, la société entière, tous les gens comprennent quelque chose en même temps et
Oui, ça,
presque
ils
la
sont d'accord.
vérité, sont d'accord, sont des périodes fastes comme ça. C'était peut-être le moment
Où tout le monde parlait le même langage, ils se
oui,
comprenaient.
de
Déjà.
Mozart, quand il
Donc,
assumait
il pouvait
vraiment,
aller à cette évolution
Laisse-moi.
parce que.
quand il vraiment était au point, il parlait comme une langue maternelle la musique, sans aucune erreur, avec une sensibilité tout à fait spéciale.
Mais il n'a rien inventé. Mozart
Rien
n'a
inventé,
absolument
oui,
rien
c'est ça.
inventé.
Mais
c'est
Beethoven
ça.
Mais
a
la
inventé.
notion
C'est
de
ça.
la langue maternelle.
Du coup,
C'est ça,
tout
le
le monde
problème.
pouvait le comprendre. Il n'y a
Oui.
rien de. Il a tout monté
Rien de
au pinacle.
spécial, mais en même temps,
Tout est fait à la perfection, mais avec tout ce qu'il avait sur place. Il n'est précurseur en rien.
oui. Par contre,
c'est ça.
par exemple, Beethoven avait des problèmes.
Beethoven, c'est autre
Oui, oui.
chose.
Oui, mais c'est pour ça qu'il est
Parce
si
que-
faible parce qu'il a des problèmes de... donc il est faible parce qu'il expérimente, parce qu'il essaye des choses qui n'existaient pas.
Et qu'il est
Et c'est
convaincu
pour ça-
d'écrire pour l'humanité, et non pas pour
Bon,
le
ça,
public.
ça c'est un autre problème.
Non,
Ah,
c'est
pour
un
le-
public très
oui,
important.
oui,
Mozart
oui,
écrit pour son
je
public.
comprends, oui.
Beethoven écrit pour l'humanité, il écrit pour